Hey, remember that one time when you totally remember that thing? Well, you're wrong. No matter how hard you try, your unreliable memory is going to deceive you. We all want to think that our memories are reasonably reliable. Of course, we all forget things from time to time, such as where we put our vehicle keys or the names of people we need to call. But when it comes to recalling essential details, such as a happy memory from our youth, our recollections should be reliable. But memory can deceive you, according to researchers. Here, I'll tell you where your memory lies. Hello and welcome to Curiosity Corner. If you still need to subscribe to the channel, you should do so immediately, before you forget. Let's start with 10 curiosities, biases, and facts about how and why not all that comes out of your mouth is true. Sorry. Number 1. Creating false beliefs. Unlike a computer's hard drive, the brain does more than gather and store information. The hippocampus, a brain region the size and shape of a man's curled pinky finger, is the primary location where data is stored. However, that is not the end of the story. When we think of anything, our brain jots it down again. While doing so, it undergoes a new round of processing, morphing the event with external data each time. Over time, the truth gets internalized and isolated from the environment in which it was first learned. You may know that Sacramento is the capital of California. Still, you may need help remembering where you heard that fact. In the end, you will have a fact that could or could not be accurate. People may forget if a thing is true because of a psychological phenomenon called source amnesia. People tend to recall a lie as valid, even if it was delivered with a disclaimer, even if they were told otherwise at the time. Number 2. Filling in the gaps. As we just learned, memory details are kept in your brain, but the context is sometimes lost. You may remember the general appearance of a person's face, but not their clothing, the color of their shoes, or the intensity of the wind. But what do you say if somebody asks you to describe the sky on that day? Your brain will fill in the blanks with what it thinks was the most likely circumstance when presented with a hazy memory, or one that was never saved in the first place. For this reason, one should be wary of any testimony based on a single witness's experience. A witness's memory is immediately polluted with new information being transplanted into the past whenever they are asked to recount what they saw. Another fact that plays a part here is the confirmation bias. Individuals tend to see what they want to see, making their judgment, and therefore their memory, unwillingly biased. Number 3. Events that never happened. In retrospect, it can be challenging to tell how accurate our recollections of the past were, mainly when the events occurred a long time ago. Nonetheless, psychologists have discovered a considerably worse aspect of this idea. In an experiment, 70% of test subjects believed they had committed a crime when they had not. Dr. Julia Shaw of the University of Bedfordshire said, "Some of the people who came to these sessions remembered specific details and acted out crimes they had never done." This has enormous implications for our legal system and how eyewitness testimony is used in court. It provides another fascinating insight into how our brains actually work. And according to the Innocence Project, 73% of convictions overturned by DNA testing since the 1990s were based on the evidence of a single eyewitness. So much for good intentions. Number 4. Deception in perception. The human mind is fallible, and so is its perception. In addition to seeing things that aren't really there, we might also fail to notice blatantly visible things. Suppose a person witnesses an accident, but has a partial perspective on all that happened. In that case, they might make up a false memory because the information wasn't encoded correctly to begin with. Since they weren't there, it's hard, if not impossible, for them to give an accurate account of what happened without their brain getting in the way and filling in the gaps. Number 5. The harsh reality. What is real? Has there ever been a time when you were pretty sure of something, only to find out that it never happened? This is something that everyone does, but it's prevalent for people who remember things clearly. Scientists from the University of California found that both people with average and good memories could fall into this trap. When psychologists used luring words like pillow, duvet, and nap, most test subjects were sure, beyond a reasonable doubt, that they had heard the word sleep. Number 6. Emotions effect. Suppose you've tried to remember the details of an emotionally charged event, like a fight, an accident, or a medical emergency. In that case, emotions can make it hard to do so. Even though strong emotions can leave a lasting mark, they also have the potential to create false or distorted memories. Studies have shown that people are more likely to remember an event if they strongly react to it. Some research shows that false memory effect may be caused more by levels of arousal than by negative emotions. Number 7. Disinformation effect. Our memories may be distorted when actual details are jumbled up with false ones. Since the 1970s, Loftus has been studying false memories. Her research has shown how damaging it can be to remember the wrong information. Images of a car crash were provided to study participants in her work. The interviewers slipped in some leading questions or false details to get an inaccurate or skewed account of what happened after the witnesses saw the photos. When asked about the accident later, people who were given false information were more likely to remember incorrect details. One area where this disinformation effect could have devastating consequences is the criminal justice system, where mistakes can have fatal consequences. Brainerd and Reyna said that false memories made during interrogation are one of the main reasons why people are wrongfully convicted. Number 8. Misattribution effect. Do you sometimes confuse one story details with those of another? You might tell a friend about something that happened on a trip you made several years ago, thinking you're talking about the one you just took. These misleading recollections result from an illustration of how misattribution works. It could be that you have confused one incident with another, forgotten where you read a particular fact, or even remembered something from your childhood that you never actually experienced. Number 9. The fuzzy trace theory. The fuzzy trace theory is a cognitive model that explains how people remember and make decisions. It proposes that there are two types of memory traces in the brain: verbatim traces, which are the detailed and precise memories of events, and gist traces, which are more general and abstract memories that capture the overall meaning of an experience. In the context of false memories, the theory suggests that people are more likely to form false memories when they rely too heavily on verbatim traces, which are more susceptible to distortion. The theory also offers some insight into why false memories are so difficult to avoid. Number 10. Memory interference. New information has to fight off the influence of previous experiences and memories. When we learn something new, it can muddle up our memories of the past and vice versa. When our memories of the past are muddled up by new information, there can be memory lapses when we try to reconstruct lost information. Our brains fill in the blanks using what we know today and what we expect or believe to be true. Take the 9/11 terrorist attacks as an example. Chances are you have a crystal clear recollection of the time and place. You may think that what you remember about the attacks is pretty accurate. Still, what the media has said since then has likely changed what you remember. This new information might change what you remember about what happened, or help you fill in some of the blanks. What do you think? Is it true that your memory is lying to you? Please let us know in the comments box. Until the next video, stay curious.